Well, it's just my second time to ever hunt black bear. Just decided it's something I wanted to do. I've always been on my bucket list to kill a black bear. So, uh, last year not so good, but this year I killed a nice bear. You know, doing it with the archery, so archery is a little harder, a little more frustrating sometimes. So, but I was able to get it done. I've been hunting big game on my archery for 30 plus years, mainly elk, mule deer, and whitetail. Uh, Killed a lot of big elk, but never any bears. Yeah, that's back home. That's all we have is whitetail, and we have lots of deer. Greg runs a really top notch camp. He's real detail oriented. Everything. Money's no limit. He don't scrimp on stuff. He does stuff right. The food's been excellent, and he really does a good job running and keeping everything organized. And, inside the sleeping, where you sleep at, it's all real nice, and he just upgraded all the bathrooms, and it's just, very nice accommodations. And Greg's really a nice guy and real personable. And anytime you text him or call him or whatever, he'll always answer you and always return your call. I know I've hunted with other outfitters that's a rarity. You text them or whatever, they might get back with you and they might not. So, yeah, they just wait on your hand and foot. Anything you need, they accommodate you and they're really nice and polite. Dave went with me this morning to help and got the bear and got him back here, and then the other guys, they skin it and get it all skinned and put in the cooler for me. So very nice not to have to do any of that stuff. It's all taken care of. I was just wanting to kill a decent bear with my bow. I never killed one, so I wasn't real picky, but I didn't want to kill no little 100-pounder either. So, well, Greg brought me, took me into the stand. When we pulled up to the stand, it was a bear there at the bait that ran off, and Greg had a picture of a real big bear at this bait station. So I was on the lookout for this real big bear and sit there, I don't know, till about 8 o'clock. Hadn't seen a bear. Then about 8, I looked for my right, and then all of a sudden looked back at the bait station, and there's a big bear. So it got me pretty excited. But plus, I don't know, it's like my 4th hunt in a row that I'd finally seen a bear. I hadn't seen a bear in like 4 different hunts. So, to me, they told me to be not fit inside the 55 barrel drum. He was a shooter. He walked right beside it, and he didn't look like he'd fit inside the barrel to me. So I thought he was a good bear. So I had to wait a while. He made a couple of circles around the bait. It was real. So he finally come around the tree and walked up to the bait and gave me a perfect broadside shot. So I drew my bow back on a shoot, and right when I got my bow back and just about got my pin on his shoulder, he decided to stand up on his back legs. So he stood up and was sitting there trying to get to the beaver that was in the propane tank, and I didn't want to shoot him standing. So I sat there and waited for him to come down off his back legs. Well, when he came down off his back legs, he just sat on his butt, just sit down, right on his hind end. And by then I done been holding my bow back, seemed like forever, and I was really scared to let it down because I was scared he'd hear me and run off. So I just decided to shoot him while he was sitting on his butt. So I shot him, and I knew I hit him real good, but he took off out of there 90 miles an hour, and that's what I called Greg to come tell him what I've done. So, and Greg got there. We didn't have, I don't know, we didn't have about probably 15 minutes of daylight left. It was almost dark. So he gets there and goes ask me questions, where the bear went, and how I hit him, how good I thought I hit him. And so I was trying to explain all that to him. Then we went over and looked at the arrow and seen it was a complete pass through, had blood all over the arrow. So then we went to trying to see which direction he ran, which is hard to tell when they take off, 90 miles an hour through the thick woods. So finally find his track or find some blood where he'd ran. Then we get on his blood trail and start tracking him. And I fall back behind Greg, and Greg tracks him. And we track him to a certain point, which is about 75 yards from where I shot him at. and the blood just kind of quit. He just quit bleeding, and we could not find which way he went. We looked and looked, and could not find which direction he went from that last blood. And Greg was scared we was going to bump him out of the area, so we just stopped and backed off and left. Pretty sick, and so that's all I could think was last night. I done wounded another animal, and you might not find him. So I was pretty sick at my stomach, tossed and turned most of the night. Yeah, this morning, I was very anxious to get out and go look for my bear. So Dave, one of his guides, went with me, and we get over there and get everything unloaded and look at the camera to make sure the bear hadn't came back that night that I shot, thinking maybe I just nicked him or whatever, and nothing on the camera. So we take off over there, and I find where the last spot was that we left the night before, where he quit bleeding at. And Dave got on his knees and was just looking through the leaves and looking, and finally found a couple of specks of blood back like 2 steps back there on the backtrack. Apparently the bear had stopped and backtracked and then turned and headed kind of in the south direction. And so we found where he'd turned, and then crawling on hands and knees, we'd find a speck here and a speck there. And then we got another line in which direction we was headed. And then the spots started getting bigger and bigger. And then we was walking and looking for blood. And Dave said, you kind of let me look for the blood, and if you would, look ahead and see if you can see the bear. Just look for something big and black. And I looked ahead and I turned around like, are you talking about like that big and black bear right up there? He's like, where? And I was like, right up there. So we found him. He was like 40 yards up the trail from where originally we lost the blood. So I was pretty happy. Big relief, because I was very sick in my stomach, because I've hunted big game, like I said, probably at least 40 years I've hunted big game, and that's the worst feeling, is to wound an animal and lose him. If you hunt all your life and really respect animals, and want to do a clean kill, and so it's a very sick feeling, but big, extremely big relief when you do find one. Yeah, I started bow hunting about 40 years ago, and we did it really because we was hunting Wyoming for elk, and I just got hooked on it and got extremely lucky. The first afternoon I bow hunted, nice 5x5 bull elk. The first afternoon I bow hunted, so I've been hooked ever since. And, oh yeah. I mean, Greg's really nice guy, and like I said, he runs a really good operation. He's trying to do things right and trying to let the deer get bigger and putting limits on what you can kill on the deer. And he's trying to doing a lot with the bears. I mean, he's got a lot of big bears now. I hunted another place last year that didn't have this big of bears, and so now I would come back.